Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me. And I'm really, really honored to be here today with Bryan Madden, who's the global head of AI software, physical and sovereign AI at AMD. And I would say really at the center of kind of what's driving the business world today. As we all know, we're all adopting technology. AI is becoming part of everything we do. But perhaps nobody understands better than Breen what's really critically underpinning all of this, which is developer relationships. And this is only going to happen and evolve with developer engagement. And no one pays more attention to developers than Breen. And I really want to discuss today kind of what he's observing and where he sees the developer connection evolving to. So, just thank you, Breen, for your time today. I know you're all over the place, all over, constantly moving and traveling. We don't know what time zone you're in. Um, but firstly, we wanted to just really hear about you. You've sort of been at the intersection. What I love about, working together is that your background in technology is equal to and matches your creativity and your storytelling. And that's so unusual to find, to find somebody who can combine these two things together. So maybe talk about how you came to this job and having really deep experience, but still keeping the sensitivity to sort of the important things that really drive this kind of engagement. So tell us a little bit about how you got here.
Yeah, Kathy, thanks for having me here today. I'm honored, and congratulations on the launch of your new podcast series as well. From my accent, you can guess that I'm not from the US. I'm from Ireland, and I come from a little town in Ireland called Limerick on the west coast of Ireland. My father was a high school teacher. My mother was an artist. So you mentioned about the connection between technology and creativity. I started in semiconductor as well. I suppose all my adult life I've been working in various guises, as you said. But we're at a point in time now with the advent of AI where actually creativity is very, very important. How we tell stories traditionally as an industry has been based on the products that we've been selling, not the audience we've been selling to, and the audience as well have evolved. What we're seeing now is a shift where, because of AI, we have to figure out how we humanize AI and human AI within our marketing. So you got to start with the outcomes and not those speeds and feeds and specs as traditionally we would do in this industry, because at the end of the day, performance matters. Of course it does. You need to have good products, but the impact that your products have needs to resonate. So at AMD, we've spent a number of years now kind of evolving our marketing and evolving our messaging to be more about the impact that our technology has on solving some of the world's most important challenges, whether that's in healthcare or whether that's in society in general, in education, et cetera, et cetera. Because the outcomes are the ones that matter, and they're the ones that are emotive, and they're the ones that people sort of gravitate towards and understand. So if you can show how your technology can impact that outcome, then the technology becomes a lot more interesting. Because at the end of the day, performance is a technical thing, but possibility is personal.
Can you think of a creative story that you worked on that was bold, that was really exciting, that was your favorite?
So, Kathy, you know what I'm going to talk about. It's something that we worked on together. So about a year ago, you and I sat down and we were having a conversation about how can we tell the AI story in a way that people could understand and become, as I said, become emotive. So we decided to think about, well, what if we were to create a short film called Void Run, and build that short film and generate it with AI, with technology, but build it on AMD platforms as well. So that was the genesis of what we wanted to do from a storytelling perspective. But we also wanted a character called M, who was empathetical and was curious and really wanted to experience what open was all about. Open standards, open source, open programming, collaboration, transparency, etc. So Void Run was all about taking M on that journey of discovery and finding that once she was able to experience open, the whole world opened up for her. So we were very, very excited to partner with TensorWave and with Higgsfield as well in developing this, and we brought it to our audiences last year, and it was highly successful. You mentioned the word creativity, Kathy. It's actually very important to how we work within marketing at AMD as well. I surround myself by really, really creative people. Work with a very great creative agency in Ruderfin as well. And creativity is fantastic because when you get a group of folks really, really purpose focused on those outcomes that we spoke about, and then coming up with creative ideas and how to achieve those outcomes, you can do some really, really amazing things in marketing. So creativity is central to how we build our marketing activities, if you will, at AMD, and central to my philosophy on marketing also.
So you talked a little bit already about how you take a creative approach that really engages on a human side. Can you talk a little bit more about what open means? Open isn't just a technical term. Open means a lot more.
Oh, Kathy, open is everything in AMD. It's the cornerstone of our culture. Open means collaboration. It means transparency. Open means partnering across industries to solve some of those world's most important challenges. And it also means that it's the opposite of closed. We want our platforms to be transparent. We want them to be performative. We want many ecosystems, communities to collaborate, to build upon them. And for that to happen, you need an open approach. So when I'm working with my team, when we're even building our marketing strategies with the likes of yourself, we also look at how we can bring open through in that messaging as well, to make sure that people feel that there's no silos, that that openness can scale innovation and it fuels innovation and trust in industries as well.
So I mean, honestly, the developer marketing work at AMD is so exciting. Everybody who it touches and who gets involved is really loves the work and the programming together. How did you do that? How did you make developer marketing such an important element and such an important area for AMD?
Well, first of all, Kathy, developers don't want to be marketed to, as you and I both know. It really is about telling them what they need to know. Helping them educate them on your products and solutions, and ultimately building trust. So we started this journey just about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when we realized that developers really decide what wins in enterprises. Where traditionally developers would adopt platforms and technology internally in enterprises and build upon them. Because of AI, developers are now to the center of that, where if a developer trusts you and your technology, the market follows also as well. So we started building trust with developers through having open programs that were open again, through education and building a whole curriculum of courses where developers could learn and understand. We also made our technology accessible. We created an AMD developer cloud, for instance, where developers could log on to a cloud instance and use one of our GPUs and help innovate upon that. We also brought our technology to AI PCs as well, where developers could use our PCs to develop upon as well. So it really became a continuum for developers. And by doing that, we started building trust with those developers. And as I said, once you build trust, the whole market follows them.
Well, this is a very inspirational, area to be working in. And, when we think about, you've talked about the journey and the evolution, all these things that are really, starting to come into fruition. People talk about physical AI. I mean, what is that and how important is that going to be? And what's your point of view on physical AI?
Oh, Kathy, physical AI is the next, momentum in AI. Whereas today, when we think of AI, we think of AI in the cloud. We think of AI on your PC. We think of AI in your devices. But physical AI is everything in between. And it's that shift, if you will, Kathy, from digital to real world impact, where we move from the era of digital intelligence to embodied intelligence, where all those applications that sit on the network edge, sort of within hospitals, in factories, robotics, for instance, can all start adopting AI and become a lot more intelligent. So from where we traditionally at this space we talk about AI being computer vision, but now we're talking about AI being more than that, from where AI moves from AI that talks to AI that actually acts for you as well. And what was amazing, Kathy, is that we worked with, we've been in the robotics industry, for instance, for well over 20 years. So we know the path for technology adoption in the space. So we started working with some innovators in the industry, and one company in particular, Generative Bionics, an Italian company, worked very closely with them when we realized that they really wanted to use our technology and embed that technology in their next generation humanoid. And if you think about this, this is potentially a robot, if you will, that will do a lot more than just sense. It will have a whole new sense of touch, for instance. And that's very, very interesting, because when it comes to robotics, you got to trust robotics are going to do the right job, but also you have to find use cases for where they can help you as well. Take, for instance, you're an elderly patient in the hospital. Imagine if you had a humanoid assistant who could help you out of bed, for instance. But that humanoid would have to understand that you were frail and you were old and you were delicate. So with this company, Generative Bionics, we launched a prototype at CES this year called Gene01. And it's the first humanoid that has this intelligent skin, if you will. So the touch becomes another dimension in how those robots, if you will, respond. Because ultimately, it's about, making robotics safe for us to use, but also as well for helping to advance humankind as well.
Well, let's stay on that last point, because I think all the work that you're doing is about changing the world, and which is why it's so wonderful to be doing the job that you're doing. And if we think about sovereign AI, I think that's another area which is critically important to future growth and productivity and human potential. And maybe you could talk a little bit about how you see sovereign AI. Is it important? How is it going to evolve?
Yeah, sovereign AI is really important, and maybe if we take a step back, Kathy, AMD made a deliberate decision back in around 2016 to invest in what we call high performance computing, and really build a lot of technology for the supercomputers of the world. And supercomputers are used, as you know, to research climate change, to discover cures for cancer. So the foundation has been there for us to work with sovereign entities for many years, and we worked very closely with the Department of Energy in the US, for instance, and the national labs. Whereas even today, we power some of the most powerful supercomputers in Frontier and El Capitan, et cetera, that you may have heard of. And why these supercomputers are important, they're the foundation for the future of AI as well. And what's happened as well is that, a lot of, sovereign entities and public bodies see AI as a way of helping society and helping their citizens, for instance. It can help with education, it can help with better healthcare, it can help with transportation. So a lot of countries and public bodies are investing in AI as an infrastructure because it becomes national infrastructure. So the focus then shifts from just the features that this technology can build to building sort of sovereign resilience as well, if you will.
That's kind of inspiring to think that we might be able to really change the economies and societies of so many parts of the world. But if you step back and you think about the next 5 years, where do you think how do you see how AI is going to play a role in all of our lives, and be critically important in sort of opening up new horizons for us?
Well, 5 years is very hard to predict. Even the next 5 minutes in this business is hard at times. The rate and pace with innovation is moving forward because of AI. Excites me the most. It excites us all at AMD. We're seeing that rate and pace increase because of the availability of compute, more efficient systems from AMD to help developers develop faster. There's trends in the industry with regard to vibe coding, new clauses being built, right, where developers can build applications very, very quickly. And even when you don't have a lot of coding experience now, you can see the ability to go and build these applications as well. So it's really making accessibility to technology and these innovations more broader, if you will. But over the next 5 years, I see AI assisted development being a very important part of technology. We do that internally at AMD as well, where we use AI in our software practices, in our hardware development practices as well. And it's exciting to see what AI can help our very skilled and talented engineers go and create even faster. But also as well, because of AI, you're going to see smaller, really focused teams that are really purpose built, but have a global scale impact. because their technology, they can build technology to reach society faster and at greater volumes as well. And I'm going to say as well, it's not necessarily prediction because we've just spoken about it in physical AI. I absolutely see the physical AI and the edge, if you will, becoming very, very important for AI. Even today, 75% of the world's data resides outside of data centers. So what if you could harness that data in that physical AI environment and be able to, have agricultural processes that are augmented because of AI, that manufacturing becomes a lot more seamless and automated, and that you could build products faster and get them to society quicker. Where you could have robot assistants, humanoids in hospitals helping, with patient care, or even in industrial settings, helping to build things as well. So those things are happening, but in 5 years, it could be in the next 5 months, those things will happen right now at the rate and pace of innovation with AI.
Well, one thing you remind us is that we're all on a learning journey.
For sure.
So we're going to have to pay attention and watch all these new evolutions. But listening to you and working together with you, Breen, it really, it opens a person's imagination, makes us dream. And we all know if you can dream it, you can do it. So thank you so much for helping everyone dream about what's possible and what's next. It's really very inspiring.
Thanks, Kathy, for having me today. And I think there's one thing we can definitely both take away is that developers build trust, and the platforms that earn it win.